Hi, I'm Marcus Jackman, the pastor of Copper Hills Church in Harriman, Utah. This is our series of video devotions called Gleanings, Feasting on the Word of God in the Margins of Everyday Life. And this week we are going through the arrest, betrayal, the examination, and the suffering of Jesus leading up to Good Friday when he will be killed, and then on Easter Sunday when he is resurrected in glory and in power. Hope these devotions are an encouragement to you and help frame your mind as we get ready for the biggest weekend in the Christian calendar. What we say matters, and what we say can get us into trouble. Who we email, what we say in that text, or who we call. Long before the early founders of this nation framed the Fifth Amendment, humanity has known that what we say can get us into trouble and can be incriminatory for ourselves. And we've had a great sense of trying to avoid direct questions to protect ourselves from that incrimination. But in the account of Jesus' last week in his earthly ministry, we see him doing something else entirely. So Jesus has been arrested, and he is now dragged before the council. So we're going to read from Mark chapter 14. And they led Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests and the elders and the scribes came together, and Peter had followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest. And he was sitting with the guards and warming himself at the fire. Now the chief priests and the whole council were seeking testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. For many bore false witness against him, but their testimony did not agree. And some stood up and bore false witness against him, saying, We heard him say, I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and in 3 days I will build another not made with hands. Yet even about this their testimony did not agree. And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, Have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you? But he remained silent and made no answer. Again the high priest asked him, Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. And the high priest tore his garments and said, What further witnesses do we need? You have heard his blasphemy. What is your decision? And they all condemned him as deserving death. And some began to spit on him and to cover his face and to strike him, saying to him, Prophesy! And the guards received him with blows. And as Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came, and seeing Peter warming himself, she looked at him and said, You also were with the Nazarene, Jesus. But he denied it, saying, I neither know nor understand what you mean. And he went out into the gateway, and the rooster crowed. And the servant girl saw him and began again to say to the bystanders, This man is one of them. But again he denied it. And after a little while the bystanders again said to Peter, Certainly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean. But he began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear, I do not know this man of whom you speak. And immediately the rooster crowed a second time. And Peter remembered how Jesus had said to him, Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. And he broke down and wept. What we see in this is Jesus holding back from answering false accusations and foolish suggestions. He does not answer then, but when he is asked directly if he is the Christ, if he is the anointed one, if he is Messiah, Jesus gives a direct answer, knowing full well that it will incriminate him, knowing full well that they will not understand. It will lead to his suffering and his death. But Peter asked only, You're with him, you know him, you're one of them. Peter denies and denies and denies. So the question for you and for me is, where are we holding back in our testimony, right? Where are we desiring not to be known? Where are we desiring to cover the evidence of our relationship with Jesus? And what fears are driving that? What do we think is going to happen? What could we possibly lose if Christ is resurrected and ruling on high and he calls us to walk after him? What do we have to lose? And such a relief that Jesus would not stand in silence. And when he claims, Yes, I am the Christ, and you will see the Son of Man coming in power. Reaching back to Daniel, reminding the teachers that God has had his chosen one, and this has always been the plan. He gives a good testimony. And that testimony of Jesus, which leads to his suffering, is also the testimony of our salvation. Jesus is the Son of Man, come for you and me, to bless us, to save us, to redeem us, and deliver us back to himself. Even as we enter into the last hours of Jesus' earthly ministry, remembering that this week, we remember Jesus gave the good testimony. So what's holding me back? Bless you today.